Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Thank you very much for tuning in. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications as well, and smash the living daylights out of the like button. Lots to talk about on today's show. Some of it's direct news, others I just want some opinions today. We are going to discuss Wilfred, Ndidi, and Declan Rice, two of the most sought after and well-coveted central defensive midfielders in the Premier League, in football. A number of big clubs looking for players in those positions, including Manchester United this summer. I want your views and opinions on which of the two you think comes out on top, who you think Man United should be going for. Maybe your club's looking for a player within that ilk as well. And are there any other contenders? A lot of people talk about the likes of Basuma as an example. And where do Declan Rice and Ndidi weigh up against their Premier League contemporaries? We're going to be speaking about that. Man, Lucky Gal's going to be with us soon because he made an outrageous claim today, and I had to bring it. I had to bring it to the Football Terrace forum. I really, really did, because he's claiming that the Premier League table is lying. The Arsenal are much better than 10th place. The league is lying. The teams that are in front of them have not been better than them this season because they play better football, etc. So we're going to be delving into that. We're going to touch on Jose Mourinho's claim that Tottenham were robbed, that it shouldn't have been a penalty yesterday. I want your thoughts and feelings. We will open the lines for you to come and have your say as well. Get the super chats in also. And I know there's still a lot of people. I've had quite a few messages today, people talking about Haaland to Manchester United. Should they look to sign him or not? We're going to take your calls on that as well. Already got KJ and Kesh with me here. I want to do some of your comments. A lot of you saying, what the hell? Just cancel it. Well, the Gal's allowed his opinion. I want to know if any Gooners agree. Because what I've noticed in recent weeks is Igal was looked at as sort of an over-enthusiastic Gooner 3 months ago. Now, a lot of his claims, everyone's like, yeah, you're right, Igal. So I want him to go into it in more detail. I don't want to put words in his mouth either. I want to let him speak. But we want your thoughts, your feelings, and a few people saying, Terry, you're disrespecting Basuma. How? Some of you guys make me laugh. I don't get it. How is me saying that Ndidi and Declan Rice are two of the most well-coveted and sought-after CDMs in the league? How does that instantly become a disrespect for Basuma? How do the brains of some people work? I don't get it. I don't get how I don't understand. I really don't understand. Kesh and KJ are with us here. How's it going, boys?
I just made a noise. I didn't mean to. I was trying not to sneeze, and I sneezed, and I couldn't find the mute button quick enough. So yeah, if anyone heard a noise backstage, I was trying not to sneeze.
All good. Obviously, we're here to have a big chat today. Igal's now with us as well. We're going to kind of touch 5 minutes between us on each subject as a group, and then we're going to go to the phone lines for people to have their say. The first one, though, I need to go to. I'm glad Igal's here. You've made the claim today, Igal, that Arsenal have been unlucky this season. Talk to me.
Okay, so I've now moved away from unlucky to, when you look at the league position and you look at some of the teams around us, do you really think those teams are do you really think those teams are going to finish above us next season if everything was the same? That's my question to you, the panel. And do you feel like the league position might be actually lying? Because everyone says the league position never lies, but I really do look at it this season and be like, hey, we are not the 10th worst team in the league. There's been emanating circumstances that have gotten us there, but I can see if everything is starting from now, how it is now, we would not be in the same position. There has been a lot of drop points at the beginning of the season, and if you look at the league table after December, we're a completely different team. We play different, we have less players, and everything that I was saying there were the problems when we were going through the bad run, I'm now starting to see I was right. I did say we had too big of a squad. The moment we trim down the squad, you can see more harmony in the squad. I did say, you know what, we don't have enough creativity. With Smith Rowe and Odegaard in the team now, you can see that we have more creativity, and it gives us more results in the middle of the games. And also at the beginning of the season, there was a lot of games that I felt like against the big teams and against even the small teams that statistically, if you look back at those games, they're not that much different from the games that we're winning now. It's just we've just had that little more cutting edge due to the cohesion in the squad.
The league table don't lie, and you are currently you are the 10th best team in the league. Before that, you were worse than that. You know what I mean? You was worse than 10th in the league. Just because now that you're 10th and on level points with certain teams, who also, by the way, have games in hand, who also, by the way, have circumstances that led them there. Like, look at Aston Villa. Would there be level on points with you if they still have Jack Grealish? That is questionable. For you to say the league is lying just because you feel like we are playing better than we should now, for me, it's just foolishness, because you may be saying, but if we were playing like this from back then, we wouldn't be here. But the fact of the matter is, you were playing like that. You were playing worse than that at the start of the season. So that's why you're here. The fact of the matter is, you're currently 10th. Now, if you finish 10th, then again, you are the 10th best team in the league. If you don't finish 10th and you finish above that, you can then say, we went through a rough patch, but then we brought it back, we've grown and we're better, and now we've become wherever you finish, if it's 6th, if it's 7th, if it's 8th, you can say that. But to say that right now, the league table is lying, how can that be a fact when the fact of the matter is it can't lie when it states?
Do you think that let me rebuttal. There's one thing you did not mention in the whole topic that I asked. Aston Villa, Spurs, Liverpool, West Ham, Everton, Chelsea, Leicester, Man United, Man City. I could say probably four or five of those teams would normally, in a normal season, we'd probably have above us. But you're not going to tell me that West Ham next season are going to be above us. Everton are going to be above us. Aston Villa are going to be above us.
It doesn't matter about next season. It doesn't matter about next season. It's this season. This season, they have been better than you.
It's like, listen, are they better clubs than you? No, they haven't proven that over a period of time. Your form in the last 3 months has been brilliant. So over the last 3 months, you've been one of the best teams in one of the top teams in the league statistically. I think I haven't actually looked, but you can't then discount how poor the start to your season was. You've grown and got better, but the league, that's why the league is the ultimate prize each season, because to win it, generally speaking, you have to show the most consistent form over a 10-month period. Champions League is one of these tournaments where when you're a top team, you can scrape through the group stage and be average and then pick up form as the tournament goes on and win it. In the Premier League, if you start the first 2 or 3 months poorly, it's almost impossible to win the league title unless you go on a 21-game unbeaten run and break English
or do Chelsea.
Or Chelsea. So for me, is your squad better than 2 or 3 of the teams ahead of you? Yes, it is. But this season, overall, from start until now, you haven't been better than them. If over the last 10 games of the season, you catch them and finish in front of them, then yes, you are better than them, or have been better than them this season.
What I would say is, we are in the position that we are based on the consequences that we didn't come into this season prepared. And I'll say it again. We add a number 10, cool. Some people saying, yes, we should have been playing. We would have been in a better position right now. But in all fairness, if the club brings in a manager and the manager or whoever's decision it is to say that player is not going to be part of the plan, you've got to be on the same wavelength. You've got to have that synergy going for you where whatever conclusion you come with and you said you're going to push him out, you've got to get a replacement. We've gone in season and we're trying to fit players into system that isn't going to help the system because they're really and truly, that's not their position. Once you saw that we brought in a number 10 into the position, you saw the improvement in our team. So that's the consequences of why we are where we are right now. For me, I'm not going to look at this season. Obviously, I'm disappointed. Of course, every fan will be disappointed to see Arsenal where they are. But what I'm looking at right now is the improvement and where we can build on and push on for next season. I know a lot of people are saying, oh, I'm not expecting Arsenal to be much better next season. Personally, I think you need to give your head a wobble if you think that we're going to actually be that low. Based on us being...
We are going to move the subject.
Just before you move it, can I say one thing?
Guys, let Kesh finish his point. Then what we're doing is we're going through each point, then we're going to let viewers call in. So we're not going to sit here and debate each point for 20, 30 minutes each. We're going to go to the callers, but finish your point, please.
What I would say is, based on if you take Arsenal and you put them in a situation where the likes of Everton and West Ham is where they might not be in a Europa League competition next season, they would reap the rewards of that, playing in one competition and focusing on it. And I think what you'll find is the likes of West Ham Everton, who might get Europa League, they will struggle next season.
No, I understand that. I mean, one thing I think I want to talk about what Jose's comment come out with as well. I want people's opinions on that. Since Christmas Day, so obviously you played Boxing Day, till now, Arsenal have been the fourth best team in the league on 27 points. West Ham 27 points, Chelsea 26 points, Man United 31, Leicester 29, and of course City with 48. So you've been the fourth best team. So, but West Ham in that time period have been equally as good as you, and they are above you. So, to your point, Igal, anyone that doesn't think you're going to have a better season next year overall, I think they either don't have a football brain or they're bantering you. But this season, so far, from start to finish, you've been the 10th best team. It's about how you then go into next season and pick up from there. But saying the league table lies, no. Because the league table is a barometer for that whole season. If you suddenly click into gear halfway through that campaign, like Liverpool did a few years ago when they signed Van Dijk, how they performed in that second half of the season compared to the first half was night and day. But they still finished fourth in the league that year. That was their position. Super chat here says, with Igal's logic, Liverpool is still the best team in England. That's also true by that same logic, because Liverpool have had a really bad year. It doesn't mean they're worse than all the teams that are in front of them. That is a fair point. By the way, Liverpool since Christmas Day, 16th worst team in the league. Actually, Newcastle. So this is how it actually runs since Christmas Day in the Premier League. Southampton are bottom on 9 points. Newcastle second bottom 10. West Brom on 11, and then Sheffield United and Liverpool both on 12 points each. That's how bad Liverpool have been. But by Igal's logic, we should ignore that. No. Yes, it's reverse. Based on your logic in reverse, we can't moan about Liverpool's form or criticize it because it isn't really how good they are.
The question is, getting back to the Arsenal topic with the whole thing. Let me ask you this: if I asked you, can you start to see Arteta implementing his system in the team and the players, and you start to see everything coming together? Yes. So with that. If we were to have a time and just transport time back a little bit, and the season would have begun. The season would have begun in December. You would have been able to see that we reaped the rewards, because in December what we did was. I'll be quick with my solution. We
can't go back in time. If we could go back in time, we can say, right, if we do the Premier League from the 1st of February 2020 until the 31st of December, Man United are champions. It don't work like that, bro.
Okay, I'll just say one thing. At the beginning of the season, I did say we have too big of a squad. After we went through a big problem, and I seen that there was problems in the team, that's when I realized our squad was too big. And trimming the squad down and bringing in a creative midfielder has turned around our season. If we would have properly prepared at the beginning of the season, as Kesh said, I feel like we wouldn't be in the situation we're in right now.
I understand everything. I understand what you're saying. I suppose it's this with you. I love you, Igal, and you know that. We talk a lot behind the scenes. You've improved, but rather than just taking the compliment that you've improved and got better, it's like you want more than that praise that you've got better. It's actually, because of how much we've improved, we should eradicate and wipe off the bad starts of the season. That's not how football works, bro, because there is no say that it couldn't go back in reverse. I don't think it will. But what if you ended what if the last 6 games of the season, you lost 5 of them? Would you want that spoken about or not? Like, football just don't work in those ways. We're going to go to callers very soon. The link's been shared in the comment sections. I did want to ask you, Gooners, as well. I know that last week, again, you guys made a big song and dance about not getting big key decisions in games. Do you think there's a point here? Because it's been statistically proven that Michael Oliver, the referee yesterday, has given more penalties against Jose Mourinho than any other manager in his Premier League history. Do you feel it was harsh to give that penalty yesterday on Lacazette? Because Lacazette did skew his shot. So yes, there was contact after the ball was hit, but because the ball would have gone out for a corner anyway, means he's not in control of it. Do you feel it was harsh yesterday, Igal? And do you feel like Spurs maybe got robbed by that decision?
I applied the pressure and it worked. That's all I got to say. I applied the pressure and it worked. Let's get it there. You know, these guys look at social media. They look at what's going on. They see when people are moaning about certain things. And I'm just going to say, fans applying pressure. If the manager's not going to do it, Arteta did apply pressure after that last game. He said it's a ridiculous decision. That's why we need to do that. If our managers apply the pressure and the fans apply the pressure, we're going to get decisions going our way. What Jose used to do was he would intimidate referees into giving them decisions the next game. And Arteta, that's what he did that game. So I'm happy.
So you're saying, so you're advocating, so you're saying that when poor refereeing is against Arsenal, it's a disgrace, it's a conspiracy, FA needs to fix up. But when poor officiating goes in Arsenal's way, you're now saying, well, yeah, because
why it went away?
So my question is, gents, what do you actually want? Good refereeing, or do you want more decisions going Arsenal's way?
I want no referee on the pitch. I want somebody literally just there as a physical decision maker, as a physical person, just to tell the people what's going on. Somebody else. I want everything. If you want it to be perfect, you need it to be completely managed, like with somebody not using their emotion and reading the rules.
You need a ref.
You don't need a ref on the pitch. You don't need a ref on the pitch.
Hang on a minute. So what? Do you know what's ironic about this, bro? Do you know what you've just said there, bro? You want a machine to do the refereeing, okay? The problem is when
black
you have
and white.
Well, it can't be black and white because there are a lot of footballing decisions that are subjective. And your decision yesterday for Lacazette's penalty was a subjective one because I've seen hundreds of times in the Premier League era, players have a shot and get clattered, actually physically hurt afterwards after the shots happened, and the penalties are very rarely given. So it's a subjective decision as to whether or not an impediment was made. I don't think one was made yesterday because the shot had already been scuffed before Sanchez made the foul. However, I'm not a hypocrite. And I've said for years, if you catch someone late after a shot, it should be a penalty. The same as if you catch somebody late after a pass in the box. What was weird,
how about the solution?
I'm talking, bro. What was weird yesterday is how that was the first time I remember seeing in the Premier League a player have a shot and then contact happen afterwards and a penalty be given. But I'm not going to hypocrisize myself because I've always felt there should be penalties. What you can't have, back to your point, that there can be no emotion involved. Emotion maybe is the wrong word, but you have to have a human brain assessing a situation because a lot of the laws in the game are down to interpretation of the laws. A machine can't do it. What you end up with the situation of is like with the offsides. Everybody's crying and moaning because we're giving offsides by half an inch. That's what happens when you have a non-emotive, completely objective decision-making process. What you'll find was there contact after a player passed the ball? Yes. It means every single time that happens, a penalty is going to be given because a computer won't be able to assess how hard the contact was because they don't have a brain that works that way. That's a madness, you go.
Terry, let's fix the rules though. Let's fix the rules because the rules are too subjective. If you make the rules black and white and you make it, if this happens to this detail, then it's a penalty. If it doesn't happen to that detail, it's not a penalty. Right now, it's too subjective. Everything comes down to a subjective decision. And you know what? Harry Kane should have been given a red card also, but he didn't even get a yellow.
Okay, two things. First of all, we've already got the offside rule, which is not subjective, which is completely objective, and people still moan about that. So it doesn't matter what you do to the rules, people will still complain. Two, the Harry Kane thing is such a casual, normal thing that happens.
It's not casual. No.
It's not normal. Wait. That if you're gonna say anything, give him a yellow card and a free kick. But
it's not a red.
Why is everything that you say is
because we need to protect the players? What Harry Kane is doing is actually endangering players. He endangers players.
You know what though? But then you got to be really careful here, right? Because I'd say that was deliberate, and he barged him. He's not gonna cause, in my opinion, huge harm to a person doing that. How do I know? I played football at school level and Sunday league level for 15 years, and I've never seen a person go to hospital because someone's barged them.
What he did to Lallana, he could have broke his back, Terry.
Yeah, one of your players this year went up for a header and got there late and fractured the skull of another player. These things happen in football. Your players also. Lacazette is famous for the back off. You've got players that will lean into a player when he goes in the air for jump. This is when you got to be very careful with these rules, right? We always, as fans, we're very emotional, and when we see one of our players get hit in the face or gets fouled or gets hurt, we always want the world to change. I remember Arsene Wenger famously saying, and I want to say the guy's name was Matthew Taylor, who broke the ankle of Eduardo. Terrible tackle. But your manager came out after the game and said Taylor should never be allowed to play football again. And we never tried to break his leg. It was dangerous, but it wasn't a deliberate leg break. And when it's your player, you want to protect him in that way. But you have to be very careful of the precedents that you might set, because you could come out now and say any late barge into a player should be an instant red card. And then in your next game, Xhaka does it. And then he gets sent off and you'll be crying your eyes out saying, "Oh, it ain't the same because of this and that." Then you'll be screaming for subjectivity. Then you'll be screaming for context. Then you'll be screaming for it. We only ever want black and white decisions when we're focusing on one particular moment, a granular moment within a game or within a process. Like all the decisions you think have gone against Arsenal, you want them black and white, so there's no debate, it either is or isn't. But when they go against you, you want that grey area because you want to be able to debate and get yourselves out of a situation. It's never going to happen, and you really want it in your heart of hearts.
What I would say is, I understand a follow through, yes, it can happen, but if you look at that precise multiple situation, yes, Lacazette missed the ball, but did you see how high Sanchez was, even though he missed the ball? What if Lacazette actually, I don't know, what if the ball didn't go like it spun in the air and it's dropped back to him and you took him out? It doesn't matter if you played the ball and you miskicked it. At the end of the day, you've gone to block that ball and the ball wasn't there for you to block it. It's a foul.
Yeah, and hold on. In Arsenal's last North London game, when Son played the ball, he's already played it, but he's got caught right afterwards. It's the same thing. Yeah, but the thing is, you guys got the subjective decision for you. What Igal is saying make things black and white, but you can't agree with what he's saying. You can't make things black and white.
I think yesterday was a penalty. Interestingly, if Lacazette gets a better connection on the ball, Sanchez might actually block the ball from going towards his goal, and then it's a fair foul because he gets the ball first. That's why there needs to be subjectivity there. The reason that there was contact with the player first is because Lacazette missed his shot. That's why subjectivity is important. Another ref on another day could think, well, he's missed the shot. It's not going in. Yes, there's some contact after the fact, but he's not impeded him with that contact. It wasn't reckless and dangerous enough to break a leg or injure the player because the contact was minimal. You need to have that, and you do. And I know if that decision went the other way against Arsenal yesterday, you would be screaming that that there was a conspiracy and people were out against you. But we're going to go to some calls. We want to talk about two things to start with. We're going to touch on Wilfred, Ndidi, and Declan Rice a bit later. We're going to talk about Man United and Haaland a bit later as well. But we want to hear from you right now. Is Arsenal's league position a lie? Are they much better than the 10th place team in the league this year? We want your views and opinions. And secondly, was the penalty decision yesterday harsh? And do you want all subjective decisions removed from football? Do us a favor and smash the like button right about now, people. Don't forget to do that. Subscribe to the Football Terrace. First guest on the show today, we're going to get to AJ, who is a Spurs fan. What are you saying, bro?
Well, go on, Terry. So you see the penalty incident. I'm not going to lie to you. I'll give my reasoning as well. I don't think, without the bias tag, I genuinely don't think that's a penalty. And because, like I said, he's taken the first touch to set up for the volley. I think when we were all watching it, we thought, oh, he's going to slap it, Lloris will save it, or it's going to go in. Davinson Sanchez, he's gone flying through the air, but he's not gone to, per se, tackle Lacazette himself. He's gone to block the shot. Lacazette's missed the ball and shagged the shot and kicked Davinson Sanchez, who's already halfway through the air. I don't see how that's a pen, to be honest. And also the Harry Kane barging thing, I'm not going to lie, the world's gone soft because one, it's a North London derby. Two, I see that every week for other teams. I see Chris Wood actually shoulder barge, man. And I see other man do this backing in thing that people like to get Harry Kane on. It's because his name's Harry Kane.
No, it's not. No, it's not. Listen, if you look at that challenge, yes, he's gone to barges. It's not even about the barge that he gave. It's the follow-through of the arm. The follow-through of the arm was clearly there. He was frustrated, and he took his frustration out on the player there. You can't tell me he didn't have no intent there.
I didn't say that. I'm just saying it's not just him who does it.
You can't compare every barge to the barge yesterday. Yes, it's football. You're going to get barged, but that there is intent. That's why people's picking up on it.
Okay, and I'm saying people just blow it out of proportion because it's Harry Kane. Because I think some of you on here could say it's true. Because if Chris,
hold on, KJ.
If Mo Salah's name was John Davis, people wouldn't pick on Salah for diving so much.
No, they would.
Kane is Harry Kane. That's why
Harry Kane is diving.
Cash. I will say this though. I'll say this. I've seen people cheer. I've seen United fans do it, and I don't like it. I've seen Liverpool fans do it. I don't like it. When players are sprinting after a ball and it goes out, one player slows down and shoves the other into the hoardings, into the stands. Ashley Young did it to Di Maria. I didn't like that. but you've got fans cheering, you've got fans applauding it, saying, "Go on, my guy, my player," for doing that. So that for me, that's no different to this.
It does happen. When listen, for me, it's a competitive sport. When Brandon Williams threw Callum Hudson-Odoi over the advertising hoardings at a game, every Man United fan at the ground, it appeared by the sound, cheered. Chelsea fans wanted him sent off, and then social media was split. United fans are like, you get the occasional United fan who doesn't believe in tribalism. Like, I think that is a red card. I'm not going to be biased, but most are like, that's what you want to see. I remember Arsenal fans for years moaning that you'd lost your bite in the middle. You'd lost your bite. You'd lost your aggression. Sometimes those moments can benefit a team. You can make a team shy away. One of the biggest reasons Arsenal fell away from title races in the late noughties. And you remember Evra talking about it. It was like men against boys. There was a lack of fight. There was a lack of aggression. There was a lack of nastiness about a team. Mm-hmm. I sometimes think those things are needed. Whether or not they happen in every game the way Harry Kane did it, we don't know. I do think one thing, Harry Kane doing it in a North London derby, you're definitely going to see a super slow-mo replay that makes it look worse. If it was Ashley Barnes versus a West Brom defender, I don't think anybody cares. But that's the nature of being a big team and having that come up. AJ, listen, bro, thank you for coming on and having your say. Really appreciate that, bro. Next on the show, we're going to have, we're just about to put Military Gunner, he just disappeared. So we're going to go to Abs, who's a Chelsea fan. What you saying, bro?
Hey, well gone, Terry. Well gone, everyone. So let me just clear up this issue about Arsenal and referees. First and foremost, everyone knows that the referees in England are awful. It's all been established. They're not very good at what they do. The standard can be improved, but also you have to look at it from the perspective of every team gets bad decisions, every team gets good decisions. Prime example, in the last two FA Cup finals that Arsenal played Chelsea in, both times the referee was on Arsenal's side. And don't even try to tell me that you weren't, because what's his name? The multiple fouls given.
I'll agree with you. I will agree with you. And I know you're talking about the Kovacic sending off. But if you actually look at that, Aspilicueta should have been sent off before that anyway. He should have been off the pitch anyway. So yes, there was bad decisions in that game, but don't make it as out just because Arsenal got Kovacic sent off, like Chelsea shouldn't have had a man sent off either. Yes, there's bad defending. There will always be bad refereeing in the Premier League. That's why I disagreed with the guy, and I said it's not so much a conspiracy to focusing on Arsenal and doing them bad deeds and things like that. It's just the referee standards is poor in the Premier League overall.
Listen, I wouldn't disagree with that, but I think what this guy's pulling on is the conspiracy element rather than saying you don't get things go your way. I still don't quite understand the gal's claim around doesn't want subjectivity. It's impossible, isn't it, to have some of these laws without subjectivity?
Look at football. Okay, so don't try to make it perfect then. If you're not going to try to, if you can't get rid of subjectivity, then why have VAR in the first place? Because VAR's whole point is to try to make things perfect, try to get decisions that referees get wrong, fix it, right? But if you get a situation where VAR still makes a mistake, like they did in the Burnley game, then the second mistake was supposed to correct the first mistake, so things work out eventually.
What mistake was made in the Burnley game?
What you're missing, though, is, again, with subjectivity, it's not necessarily a mistake. Subjectivity is just, I don't agree that that's handball, that's a red card, that was a foul. What it has done, and people hate it, it stopped offside goals being given. And we have seen occasions where goals have been given as offside and they turn out to be onside. The only time they really become debatable, and I understand it, has been where people have pointed and it's the sleeve of the arm that's done it. And if they hadn't have pointed for where they wanted the ball to be passed. So I think there's some areas to tweak. But we have seen moments, and there's a very famous example with Arsenal Man United. Mm-hmm. You had a goal given as offside against us last season. That will have led to us beating you if it wasn't changed by VAR. And it clearly showed that you were onside by easily a good foot or two you were onside by, but they gave it. So you've got to try and make the decisions as good as possible. But that doesn't go back to the point I asked you. You can't make some of these decisions objective because there needs to be an element of interpretation. So when it comes to a reckless tackle, how can you have a reckless tackle that's objective? Because how can you tell that it's reckless without an air of subjectivity?
Do what they do in basketball and other sports. For example, they make it, if you make a dangerous play to somebody's head and you don't actually make a play to the ball, or you make a physical contact to somebody that is directly, intentionally trying to hurt the person, which they gauge on their own subjectivity, obviously. But it's still, that's the problem.
Wait,
I can't find a way. I can't find a way
just-
around it. I can't find a way around it without including subjectivity.
Hang
You're
on,
right.
that's how it already is. Yesterday, Lamela got sent off because the way he hit, was it Tierney hit in the face?
Yeah.
He didn't
Not
strike Tierney or whoever he hit. It wasn't violent conduct that he got sent off for. He was trying to shadow, and his arm caught him in the face, which is a bookable offence. So he got booked for a hand to the face because it hurt an opponent. But it wasn't violent conduct because it was seen from a subjective point of view that he didn't hit the person out of aggression. So that already exists, mate. The point is, if the rule was, if you strike someone in the face, it's an instant red card, you could have a situation where your player is just trying to shield the ball.
It happens to Suchek. It happens to Suchek.
But yeah, and that is a mistake and then gets rectified. The point is, if it's objective, it's just if you touch the person in the face, it's going to be a red card. You are just going to end up, it's going to fall apart. It can't work with subjectivity.
Terry, sorry.
Sorry, Abs. Igal, if you were complaining about these decisions, and even when they went for you, you were still complaining, I would be on your side more. It's the fact you clearly do it when things don't go in Arsenal's favour, but when it goes in your favour, there's no argument. It's just like, well, yeah, sweet, we got it. You know what I mean? There's never a, you know what, yeah, we shouldn't even be in this position because that decision right there was a disgrace. There's never that.
You know what it is? I draw comparisons from other games and other teams with similar situations, and I don't see the same. I don't see the same consistency throughout that. That's all I'm asking for. I'm asking for a level of consistency, and I don't see that, especially with the handball rule getting changed. You know what? I was for it, but still, they're biting the hand that feeds them because at the end of the day, the fans care about the game. They've taken the fun out of They've taken the fun out of the game, and at this point, I was a big supporter of VAR. I was a big supporter of VAR.
Every time
big supporter of VAR, but VAR has absolutely.
If there's a bad decision that goes Arsenal's way, I want to see you come out, condemn that decision, and say Arsenal did not deserve that decision.
You know what? I actually did. When Gabriel, you guys said Gabriel should have been sent off after Manchester United away, that game that we won, and I agreed with you guys. Gabriel should have been sent off, but But what are you going to do? It's already happened.
Did you say it was a disgrace? Did you say it was a conspiracy?
I just agree with you. I'm not gonna be as passionate about decisions that don't go against other teams. I don't care about that. At the end of the day, I'm an Arsenal fan. I care about Arsenal.
And that's why, and you know what? That's why I've said for years, you'll never eradicate diving and you'll never fully get rid of bad decisions because we only really care when it doesn't benefit us. We are as fans very, very selfish in relation to that. Harry's now on the show with us. I wanted to ask Harry this question away from the decision making. Do you think Arsenal are in a fake position? Is the league table lying, like Agal has said, that you should basically, because you've improved, we should forget the beginning of the campaign?
No, what I'd say is since our turnaround in form after that horrible run of results where we've beaten Chelsea, I think we were 15th before we played Chelsea, and we've only went up 3 or 4 places or 5 places. So it feels that even though we're winning a few games, that the progression has just been ever so slightly. So I think where we are is where we deserve to be because ultimately, we lost those games. Unfortunate circumstances, maybe, but we lost the games. I don't think we'll finish 10th for what it's worth. I think we'll climb the table and end up finishing 8th, 7th, maybe 6th at a push. So it's a false position in terms of I don't think we'll finish 10th place, but in terms of where we are, it's because we've lost too many games, man. We've lost 11 games? Is that right? 11?
Yeah.
And the run of form has been really good. We've got Military Guna with us as well now. What do you want to say, bro?
Big up to the panel. What's up, guys?
The
league position, definitely that has a lot to do with how we're playing and the decision that we as a team have been making over this time period. That is the reason why we're definitely in that position that we're. And according to the game yesterday, what I think about the Hurricane situation, yes, it's a North London derby, and we expect that these challenges will be coming in. But I think what Hurricane did was a bit over the top because there was no intent for the ball, and that is critical. There's no intent for the ball, and you can hurt someone for that, and we've seen that happen over and over again. But the ability to go for a ball without the intent of getting the ball, something is wrong with that. I think that is a mental frame that Harry Kane has in mind that he wanted to get one on the player. Now, at the aspect of Lacazette penalty, it was really harsh on Tottenham, but as an Arsenal fan, I will gladly accept it. We have been on the bad head of many decisions, but it's really harsh on them as well, so that goes in favor of us. But if you're in the field of play and you played off the ball and someone made a late challenge on you, despite the fact that he already played off the ball, it would have been called again for a free kick or a foul, which means that it still can go the same way. Yes, he got off the shot, but Davis did came in very hard and aggressive and did foul him. So it's two ends to the story as well. And in regards to the subjective call on the pitch, you have to have a referee, because not all decision can be made entirely on the technological base of things, because there's no leeway with technology. There's no gray area. And if you have no gray area, which means that all decisions will be made and be scrutinized, because as we have seen with the VAR decision in accordance to the offside, also the on-ball rule, there will be no gray area. And in football, you have to have gray area to make the decision. And that is how football is right now. We have to accept it. And us being 10th, that is just how Arsenal is right now. And we have to accept that.
I hear that. Great call, mate. Thank you very much for coming on, having your say, bro. Really appreciate that, brother. Thank you very much indeed. Look, I think that's it. The subjectivity things are mad for me. Yes,
you know what I would say though, and this is why football, I said, I don't enjoy it as much as it used to be back in the early 2000s. I wouldn't have a problem with Kane doing what he's doing if those things were still allowed. It's the fact that football's changed so much now, and you'll see a player get away with that. If it's balanced where the two teams are playing each other and you're going to get a Roy Keane Vieira and they're going to get away with it, I'm all for it. But when one player is doing it and the other's not, we all know Arsenal they're not a nasty team like that. Yes, we've had a few red cards, but they're not nasty like that.
Is Harry Kane the England captain?
Yeah.
Harry Kane is the 30th player in the Premier League, in my opinion.
Oh, he's not though, is he?
Granit Xhaka's dirtier. Like, let's have it right.
I think no. Xhaka is dirty because he's just terrible with tackling and things like that.
Yeah,
that's why he's dirty.
and by the way, the kind of fouls that Xhaka commits definitely injure more players than what has Harry Kane even injured anybody? Like,
yeah, but Terry, that's pure luck, man. You know,
Nah,
no, 1 second. When he's backing in and the defender goes for a header and then he does land on
show me, but again, Harry Kane does that. But so many players do it.
I know, but we're talking about Harry Kane. I don't think Harry Kane's necessarily dirty. I think Harry Kane abuses
one second. No, because I can't let something go because it will get lost. Others are doing it. Yes, we are talking about Harry Kane, but if others are doing it, then he can't be the dirtiest player. That's the point I'm saying here. To make it, he is outright dirty. But what I was about to say is this. Now, you're too young. All of you are all too young to remember this. Every single England captain gets away with murder on a football pitch. Tony Adams got away with madnesses. John Terry got away with madnesses in terms. They just get Steven Gerrard. They just get a little bit more leeway speaking than others, and he's going to get that. And that's just almost he's privileged because he's the captain of England. There's no doubt about it. But I know where a guy's coming from with the non-subjectivity thing. It's whenever you feel like your team's been hard done by. You always want things to be black and white. It's only when it's in the other direction that you want it to be a little bit more objective in many ways. But we're still going to take more calls on that. I want to speak for a minute about a completely different subject. Have a bit of a debate on here as well. Wilfred and Ndidi versus Declan Rice. I know you guys have got Partey at Arsenal, so you guys have got him. You probably wouldn't want to swap him. Really talented player and all that, right? Totally get it. KJ, I'm coming to you first. You've got a choice right now. I'm sitting there. You can have Ndidi or you can have Declan Rice to join your team. Which one of the two are you picking?
Ooh, they're both very good players and both have their strengths. Literally. I feel like if you're going into a double pivot, I think Declan Rice is the better player in a double pivot situation. However, if you're playing a 4-3-3 with a single pivot, I think Ndidi's athleticism is what trumps him in that, where he can be a single pivot and have 2 8s around him doing all the creative work, and he can just break up play. For Man United, for what Ollie wants to do, I think actually Declan Rice is the better option. He wants to play with a double pivot with two number 8s, or 2 number 6s, whatever you want to say, with ability to pass long range, short range as well, keep the ball, keep it moving. Declan Rice is not slow. He's got a little bit of pace on him, and he's someone who's good at defending, good at tackling, got good at clearing and good at heading the ball. So I think Declan Rice in the Man United system that we have right now, next to Pogba if he stayed, would be a good option. If Pogba left, however, I am going for Wilfred and Ndidi because I personally would switch to a 4-3-3 and have Van der Beek and Bruno as the eights.
How about yourself, Harry? When you look at those two, and we bring them up because there's a lot of debate on socials about which one is best. Who stands out to you as the overall better footballer?
I'd say that I prefer Declan Rice. I think Declan Rice is really underrated as a footballer overall. I think he's a lot more progressive than what we give him credit for. I think he's class on the ball. I think if he wanted to, he could play further forward and score more goals. I just think West Ham need him to play slightly deeper. I prefer Declan Rice. I think Declan Rice has got absolutely everything. I think he's class. I think he's not similar to Mason Mount, but in terms of Mason Mount has almost absolutely everything to his game. I think Declan Rice is right up there. I just think he's a brilliant player, and to be doing that at such a young age. I know he's 22 now, I think, but still, for a couple of seasons, playing at West Ham, captain and whatnot, I think he's class.
How about yourself, Gal? If you didn't have Partey and you had the choice between the two, which one would you go for?
Yeah, I think this is going to be the last thing I say. When it comes down to it, I don't know why you'd pay 70 million for Declan Rice when you can get Wilfred and Ndidi and have the full package, doing everything when it comes to contributing in attack, defensively, distribution. I think he's even has better pass percentages. Obviously, that just means he doesn't do as much risky passes, but of course, he does have a team. He has been playing in a team more consistently within the Premier League at the top level, and I think Wilfred and Ndidi would be the full package, the ready-made replacement or player to walk right into a team and make a difference. Where Declan Rice might need time, even though he's already Premier League proven, he still might need time to get acclimatized to the change of playing in a different system, a different team. Where Wilfred and Ndidi, I've seen him play in different systems throughout his whole time there.
Yeah, I hear you on that. For me, it's an interesting one when you look at it statistically. I've just done some comparisons. This is Premier League this year. When you start delving into it, it's just ball recoveries, Ndidi wins. Possession lost. So for the extra ball recoveries that Ndidi makes, he loses the ball 2 more times than Declan Rice. Goals and chances created per 90 minutes is identical. Passes attempted. It's not a surprise that Leicester attempt more passes. Passing accuracy, Declan Rice wins by 1%. Long passing accuracy is probably the only stat here where there is an exponential difference, where the long passing range of Declan Rice is at 65% versus 55% of Ndidi. Tackles made, a lot more tackles made by Ndidi, there's no doubt. Aerial success, 3% better by Ndidi. Ground duel success, 4% better by Declan Rice. Interceptions, 2.8 to Ndidi, 2 to Declan Rice. What I find interesting about this debate.
Could you add Basuma just to see where he squares up also?
Yeah, I'll add
Sure. Basuma's an interesting one because he is, if you listen to Brighton fans, he's not actually a DM. He's more of a box-to-box midfielder. Whereas Ndidi and Declan Rice are both traditionally more what you think of defensive midfielders. So I feel like there's a misconception that that Basuma would be this controlling. You can see it there. Look, you know what I mean? Like this idea that he'd be this controlling, ball-winning midfielder DM is not true. I feel like it's more of a box-to-box.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's just one of those things. It's he's not sort of. I know he's got a lot of red in comparison. He doesn't win any categories at all, but he isn't a million miles away or a million miles behind them. As an example, I think that's the one thing I like about the stat comparisons, and of course watching the players as well, is you have to. They're all going to have their flaws. I think Declan Rice for me is the better passer. I think that Ndidi is the better defensive midfielder in terms of breaking up of play and anchoring. With Basuma, I think he's got a bit of both of them in there, which is why people, why he's box to box, and it's what you need for me.
And Ndidi is like a poverty candidate. That's what he is.
Poverty
candidate.
Yeah, that's what he is for me. Honestly, like if you're talking about Man United and you're looking at the way they've played this year, and you're talking about Fred and McTominay in the middle, you need someone who's a lot more better on the ball progressively. And Declan Rice has got that. If you watch his game, you know he's got that. He's a lot more tidier than what people try to make him out to be.
Yeah, 100%.
He's a very technical player.
I agree. I agree completely, mate. And I think you're right. Ndidi, for me, I love the guy and I love him breaking up of the play, but it depends what system we're going to. If we play double pivot, it's got to be Declan Rice. If we go to a 4-3-3 and you just need him there to break up play and then pass the ball out to the 8, then I would go with Ndidi because we need better ball. I think what would happen with Ndidi is he'd come in and we'd see some of the same issues that we have now with Fred, where he'd win the ball back and then it's that pass into
we need him to drive into the space and then make a forward pass. And yes, if you've seen him the other day do a wonderful pass for an assist. I forgot who for, but he did do it. But on a consistent basis, I don't think Ndidi is making those passes where I think that Declan Rice, his passing will break the lines more. When he drives forward the ball, he'll have the right way to pass. Just over Ndidi.
I feel like Declan Rice plays with more personality or has more of an individual influence on the game. Maybe because he's at a lesser club in West Ham, and
he's the captain as well.
More. Yeah, but I just see a little bit more from him. Like Kesh said, I think his footballing ability is so underrated. It's only because he's maybe 6 foot plus and he's English, we think he's a DM, but I think he's got so much about him. I really do. So much.
I think Declan Rice is a marketing wise, having a top English player, having him at Manchester United would do better for the financial aspect for Manchester United. But I think Ndidi would be the better player overall. That's just what I'm saying.
For Man United or for as in just in football terms?
For Manchester United.
Why?
Declan Rice would be more. I think Declan Rice is a good player. Don't get me wrong; he's a great player. But I just think Ndidi offers more in the full package in comparison to Declan Rice.
I think again you have to look at value for money as well. I think Ndidi is coming at a much cheaper rate to a Declan Rice. You know you're going to get charged that English tax as well. But for me, listen, like if you can get Declan Rice, you get him. It just depends on how much West Ham's going to
I don't think that's true. I think both of them go around for the same price. Because if you look at the teams that they play for, West Ham are lower than them, and you've got the English tax on Declan Rice.
The homegrown.
But Leicester aren't no slouches. They've got they're going to get Champions League football. They will be.
No, but you have to look in. You have to look in what Brexit has done.
And they already sold Harry Maguire, a centre back,
but what I would
for 80 million. What they're going to ask for Ndidi will be a similar price.
KJ, what I would
be the same. 1 second, KJ. Or 1 second, Cash. It will never be the same because the English homegrown rule and the fact that majority of clubs will always charge more for the English players because they know when you buy that player, it's going to fill your quota for homegrown players, so you won't have to worry about that. I know Manchester United doesn't have to worry about that, but there are certain clubs that do, like Man City, even Chelsea, before they got their.
You're not understanding what I'm saying.
I think the advantage though Man United have when it comes to Declan Rice is currently what's going on with Jesse Lingard. We spoke about it earlier, and I think that there is something that Man United will look at around. Okay, well, what can we right now, West Ham fans are in. Like, I've got a lot of friends that are West Ham fans, and I ask all of them, "What's your thoughts on Jesse?" They love him. They absolutely love what he's brought to their club, and that goes a long way. In terms of, interestingly, when it comes to statistics, though, and expectations, I've just added Fred to the mix here. Like Fred, when you put him into the mix with these other players, again, there isn't a huge deal of difference. The only real 2 areas that stand out are his ground duel succession and his aerial duel succession, only 33%. But the likes of Ndidi are winning double the amount of duels in the air, which is important in the Premier League. But then he's a short ass. He's passing, but it's important. But his passing accuracy, as an example, is the best. His long range passing is not too dissimilar from Declan Rice. However, where I give Declan Rice the nod above all of them, especially when it comes to the passing side of things, is West Ham are deeper. And there are less options to pass forward to. If Declan Rice was in a team where there's 3, 4, 5 options around him, they're moving, and where teams are behind us, the opponents are all going to be in front of him rather than behind him, and there's or in amongst him. Be a lot more time for him at Man United to pass and move.
That's why you see the stats thing, yeah? Because I see it with Xhaka as well, and I say it all the time. Yes, Xhaka is in the league one of the players that pass the ball forward the most. But I'm looking at the areas you're trying to pass the ball in. Are you giving it to players in the pockets and on their back foot where there's a man on them? Are you brave enough to do that? Because that's how you hurt opponents. You can pass it to someone when he's not getting picked up by anyone. But if someone's standing in the middle third, in the final third, just in front of the centre back, and you're confident enough that you can give it to him and he's going to control it, that's how you hurt the opponent.
Yeah, and I feel like what Declan Rice has over Fred, which is I think not very hard right now, is he keeps the ball better. If you give him the ball, you're not concerned if his back if the back is towards the play. You will not be concerned that you'll lose it. His first touch,
that's personality. That's personality.
Yeah,
that's
personality. And I also agree. And this is the thing with Fred. Fred statistically is on par with them. I always use Y-Scout to review this sort of stuff. Fred should have a lot better statistics in a Man United team with what he's surrounded by than Declan Rice at West Ham. To a degree, indeed, he's got good players around him as well. But Man United should always have better players than the other teams. Who's Basuma playing with? Who's he receiving balls from? Who's giving balls? Like it shouldn't be anywhere near him. He should be light years in front in terms of what he's doing. And I think if you put both Ndidi and Declan Rice into the Man United team over Fred, you would see both those players, and Basuma, to be fair, I think you would see all of them elevate above him as an individual. And I use Fred as a standout example because he was that £50 million signing. When it comes to Scott McTominay, you don't need to get rid of Scott McTominay. And the reason I say that is if Scott McTominay is born and bred at the club, and if he gets a bit part role and he's still involved, I think it's easier to keep him happy to be part of your squad. I don't think you're ever going to be able to keep a £50 million player happy to be part of rotation. So it's an easier decision from
actually. To be fair, only because Fred's 50 million doesn't mean he has the attitude of a 50 million.
Well,
he seems like the guy who also would be happy just to be like, okay,
maybe,
cool.
maybe.
Could you see Declan Rice at Manchester City? Because I know Manchester City might have this situation where I know they handpick their players, but they do have a situation where they're always depending on their third string goalkeeper to be English in order to meet the quota. Like, don't you think they should be going for some of the top English talent?
They got Rodri, man.
You're thinking again. You do this thing where I believe anyway that you look at things through the Arsenal lens. You know what I mean? And you still look at every club through the Arsenal lens. They don't need Declan Rice. They don't want Declan Rice. And they don't care about the English quota because they're meeting it with the players they've already got. They will continue to do that unless there is a standout English player.
I'd rather my keeper be meet the English quota than an outfield position anyway. I can go to Spain and get a bad boy. You know what I mean? As long as they're meeting the quota, it doesn't matter to Man City if it's the third choice centre back, the third choice goalkeeper, the third choice, fourth choice striker. They're meeting it.
Yeah, do you know what I would say as well? The other side of your question is, could he play in the Man City team? My answer is yes, I think he could. I think he is good enough technically to play for Man City, but they just, I don't know if they have a massive need to go for him. I suppose the only other thing with Declan Rice is there's still a lot of talk about him becoming a centre-back. Which again, I don't know enough about the player's history to know about.
I've seen him there. Listen, when he first broke onto the scene, it was Arsenal that was interested in, and he was going to be on a free the following summer. But obviously, West Ham made the most of it, signing him up quickly. He played centre back, and personally, he's a DM.
Was it in the back three as well? Was it centre back in the back three as well?
He's too good. He's too good to play centre back, man. He's a waste. He's too good on the ball. You're not talking about an Eric Dyer who's quite limited, which is why you play him centre back because technically he's not good enough to play CDM. Declan Rice is too advanced. There's too many pluses in his game to put him in the back. He could do it there because he's a really good footballer and he's massive.
To be fair, my last line of defence, which your centre backs are, I don't want that to be Declan Rice. You know what I mean? Like he is good because he's also got cover behind him. So if he does get beaten, he can then track back while the centre back is holding off the attacker. If Declan Rice is your last man,
who do you want though?
Who do you want?
Yeah, at Manchester United. Because
at Man United, I would take Ndidi or Rice. I'm not too precious about it.
They tell you one is worth 55 million, for example, Ndidi plus add-ons, and then the other one's like 70 with plus add-ons. Just a rough estimate. I'm not looking at any stats. Which one?
Which one would I take? The one that's just the system. I'm not. Sorry, Cash. I'm not.
You're not bothered by price.
On the price, as long as it suits the system and suits.
The only time I care about the price is if, and I've got to use second Cash. Sorry, mate. The only time I would care about the price, I'm a bit like KJ. Indeed, he still probably narrowly outweighs Rice for me in terms of personal preference. But I think it's a very weak thing for football fans to do in this day and age to allow their personal preferences to overtly dictate what the club's doing. Because I know both those players are excellent. So if it was announced we're getting Declan Rice, and I think Declan Rice is more likely because of the Jesse Lingard situation, I think Man United are going to try to exploit. Again, if we were any good at our jobs at board level and negotiating level, we would now use that as a one of the things we did terribly as a football club for a long time is we didn't utilize the loan market well enough. And Phil Jones should have been out on loan years ago. You get these players out on loan to places where you think they can do well, and then you sell them on. You know, look at Chris Smalling. We did it with him perfectly. You know, Pereira's doing okay where he is. I heard. I haven't read that was a few months ago.
He's not getting anything.
Is he not?
That's what Arteta's tried to do with Joe Willock to make the Niles.
Yeah, well, that's what I read about 3 months ago. I read one little obscure little thing somewhere. But you've got to utilize it, and we should do that there. But if we ended up with either or Basuma, like if we announce any three of those players coming in, as long as they are not the direct and only replacement for Paul Pogba, I'm happy. The reason I say that is, I look at it this way: with Declan Rice and Basuma, I want, or Ndidi and Basuma, I want. If Paul Pogba leaves, because we need to bolster the midfield and not just do one in, one out. Kesh, you were going to ask a question, bro.
I've got two things to say. Can you bring up players from other leagues?
Give me some names.
Lucatelli from Zulot. Like,
am I spelling that name?
Lucatelli, L-O-C-A.
Guys, I'm gonna head out. Nice having me on, Terry. Appreciate it, bro.
Yeah, and while you do that, I'm just going to talk, because I remember I was saying about Declan Rice and added tax and everything, and KJ was saying, no, he thinks the likes of Ndidi and Ransom cost the same. Personally, for me, Man United, the way they negotiate deals, they get their hand bitten off because of the way they do it. Listen, you're Man United Football Club. You apply the pressure, Maguire he's gonna cause a fuck. He's gonna want to leave. You're telling me Man United is coming in for you, and you're gonna let Leicester bite your hand off. Man United, if they had better negotiators, they would have got Maguire for much cheaper than 80 mil.
The Maguire thing is the reason why it got so high is because Man City
you know what? You're going to
Man City came in,
raised the price, and then we decided.
But again, KJ, you're right. You're right about that for the summer in which we signed him.
Yeah.
But if we, I saw something that Aaron posted earlier, and I haven't watched the full clip, and I want context of it. And he was talking about how, I don't know if it's like, I think the question was, does Ollie need more players? And they were, what I've seen is that they're basically saying that with all the contracts that he's renewed, or that have been renewed since he's been here, and with all the volume of new signings he's made, this is his team. Now, I'm not too sure whether that, because I haven't watched the full video yet, whether they were saying he shouldn't be given anybody else, or he's re-signed and signed enough players for us to make him responsible and say, this is now his team. I kind of feel there's an in-between in all that, but that's kind of cool. But when I look at it, it's simple. The club needs to start acting, all of our clubs do. You need to start buying players that the club wants, not just now, but in the future. So on the Maguire thing, to bring this full round, why I mentioned that is, we should have signed Maguire the year earlier if the club thought he was good enough for £50 million. Yep. That would have saved us £30 million extra to invest elsewhere, as an example. But that's why we ended up getting him. So it isn't even about sometimes how we behave in the actual negotiations. It's the timing of these signings. And one of the biggest things that wound up Arsenal fans for the past 10 years is, how many times have you heard, could have got Ronaldo, could have got Zlatan, could have got Yaya, but the club decided not to do it. Why? Because they were more expensive at that young age than the other youngsters you'd bought. And they went, no, we're not going to do it. But the stupidity was they were better than anybody else you were signing. So the extra 4 or 5 million that deal would have cost in its entirety is better. And that's about a club being run well. Man United shouldn't be thinking about Rice or Basuma or anybody else without going, that's the profile of player we want under Ollie, and the type of player that we want to have with whoever comes in to replace him. So we should get us away from these arguments of, Ollie's bought enough, Jose's had enough, whoever's had enough. It should just be the club needs to keep improving and moving forward. And Haaland right now is a great example of this. If your fans are saying, oh, we shouldn't buy him because I don't like my manager, you're cutting your nose off. If the club make that decision based on your logic, you're cutting your nose off to spite your face. You're losing out on a brilliant player, or you're risking paying more money for him a year or two later because you don't want to give this manager the tools that he's after. You shouldn't be planning for individual managers. It should be for a club system and approach. And that's when you put that idea across, all these silly little arguments are here at the moment about, it is Arteta's squad, it's not. It is Ollie's squad, no, it's not. He didn't get all the players he wants. Not every manager gets what they want. those arguments are, for me, they're just, you ever seen that? What's that? That's the gif of that guy who plays a doctor. It's like, you're so basic. They're just basic level 1. Like, what do you do at school? Is it like your stats? Your stats you do when you
sets. Oh, yeah.
Key stage 1, bro. That is key stage 1 level fan analysis. You're right. They have had enough. You've got to go deeper than that. The club needs a system. The club needs a profile of player.
You say that, Terry. It's funny enough you said that because Arteta came out the other day and he wasn't necessarily talking about him. He said every summer that you go into a transfer market, you've got to keep adding. Because the moment you stop adding, you then find yourself having to do a major rebuild. Clubs need to be consistent to keep moving forward. And if you don't do that, you can find yourself in trouble.
And that's absolutely that's bang on when I say what I say. And like I said, I agree that we should be looking at Ollie now and saying, you've bought in a lot of players. You've had a lot of players bought for you. You've re-signed quite a lot of players. Would you have liked more? Yes, we all would have done. But of course, you've got to be judged on how your team performs because of that. But where I draw the line is, so you can criticize that coach for not getting the best out of this squad if you think that squad is good enough. But there's 2 things to that train of thought that I would also like to hear people say. Firstly, you wouldn't then expect the new manager to get rid of too many of those players because you're stating it's good enough to compete. And the second element is you shouldn't want the club to stop buying just because the current custodian, the current steward, the current coach, the current manager, you feel has had enough. The club needs to have a much bigger and longer term approach and view on things. And that kind of narrow-minded approach is what's held Manchester United back. And
if that was the logic,
was
the logic, Manchester City wouldn't be the team that they are because they would have said, "Yo, Pep, you've had 4 fullbacks. You've bought 2 fullbacks. You've bought a goalkeeper. You've bought a DM. You've bought a striker."
Even beyond that logic, sorry, KJ, even beyond that logic, this summer there was still a lot of and ahhing as to whether or not he really wanted to stay. Was it going to be his last year? They went out and dropped what they did. They went and got Ferran Torres. They went and got Ruben Diaz, who's been a revelation. They went and got Nathan Ake, a backup for 40 million quid, who, by the way, I think fills in as one of the quota players because he was an academy.
Yeah, he was at Chelsea.
So it's one of these things where they still backed the squad. They still backed the club in the transfer market, regardless of what was going to happen with Pep Guardiola. And they still will. And I think for me, that's where fans have to get out of. And that's why I said for a long time, of course you criticize a manager. Of course, you can moan about the style of play, but don't cut your nose off to spite your face and look at everything on a very arbitrary, basic key stage 1 level that I don't like the manager, so I don't want any more money to be spent, blah, 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 blah. You have to go beyond that. And when I look at Declan Rice and Ndidi and Basuma as an example, the club should know what profile, what abilities, what attributes they want from a said individual. And it shouldn't. Of course, it matters what the manager wants, but the manager should be bought into the philosophy. Thus, they're happy with the kind of signing that you're buying. These things should be like hand and glove, fish and chips, birds and feather. Prime's with us. What you saying, Prime?
I just find it funny that I've been talking about Declan Rice since the start of the season, and I've been told no by Chelsea fans that he's not good enough, that he's English and he's meaty. So now all of a sudden, other fans want him. It's just funny.
Hang on a minute. So again, I mean, we're not accountable for what Chelsea fans say, but if people don't if people don't want Declan Rice because he's English, we've got a name for those people: bigots. Like, why would you care what a bigot's got to? Anyone who doesn't want Declan Rice because he's English, anyone that doesn't want Ndidi because he's Nigerian, anyone that doesn't want Basuma because I don't know where Basuma's born. He might be English.
Where is it now? Is it Mali?
Mali, I think, yeah.
Yeah, cool. I'm going to check now. He's born there. Anyone that doesn't want any of these players because they're their nationality, I've got zero time for their opinion because they're a bigot. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and also many fans dismiss, don't they, potential signings just because they might not, I don't know, like the club they play for currently or because they have someone else in mind. It's just like such an easy, oh no, I don't fancy this player. So, oh, sorry, you don't fancy this player. Well, what about the scouts? What about the manager? I mean, sometimes you can't just judge players. It's same as Mason Mount at Chelsea, right? I know a few Chelsea fans that don't give him the praise. I'm like, well, the guy's class.
And then they'll mention.
I tweeted that this morning about Lamptey. I said I'm not an advocate of signing Lamptey, but if the club decides to sign him, then fair enough. But I'm more in favour of a Max Aarons. But I'm not going to frown up on it if the club decides to sign it.
Yeah, but you're not saying you don't want him. So go on, Pan.
No, it's okay. You finish this one.
Okay. But you're not saying you don't want Lamptey because of he's English. You know what I mean? Because he's just another overhyped English youngster. You're saying he started to play. What I've seen of him, he's a good player going forward. But I feel for Arsenal, we need a defensive stability. Whereas you think Max is doing that. A lot of people, what they do, as soon as see that white flag with the red cross, they immediately kind of write off the player because it's kind of like, well, he must be crap.
If Declan Rice played in Serie A and was called like Declan Pasta, everyone would be like, "Oh my god, this Italian kid's amazing." You know what I mean? But because he plays in England and he plays at West Ham, sometimes we're just snobs. Arsenal do it all the time. You know, we did it when we signed Rob Holding for $2 million, and we did it when we were interested in Johnny Evans. Oh, we don't want Johnny Evans. I mean, I would have had Johnny Evans for the past 3-4 years. We did it all the way back to Gary Cahill when we got Mertesacker instead. We were like, no, let's get Mertesacker instead. And I was screaming out for Gary Cahill. So sometimes you just got to get rid of your own snobbery.
And then they will undermine the players here that they can see in the Premier League, but yet players in Europe like Sumare that they don't watch at all, and Camavinga that they don't watch, they will hype up and praise.
The comment here from Twisted that says, Terry, why is there a English player premium? Well, it depends. There isn't a premium on all English players. There is certainly a premium on others. When it comes to a Declan Rice, a Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, Rashford, the reason there's a premium nowadays too, you've got the English quota situation because they can feed into that if you need it. But there's the marketability. And what people have to understand, and Premier League football fans never want to get this, there is a national interest in said players. There is a national interest in Jude Bellingham. There is a national interest in the development of Grealish because there are millions, and I'm talking absolute millions of football fans in this country that support England but don't support a top 6 team or don't even support a Premier League team in that fact. So they care about these players. You then have, there's fans, especially kids, of those who might support Leyton Orient, that might support Dagenham and Redbridge, that might support Plymouth Argyle, that care about
Doncaster Rovers.
Doncaster Rovers. They take an interest in these players because they feed into the national team. The same as in Nigeria, I'm sure when it comes to match of the day, the Nigerian players get a lot of focus each week because there's their national TV show that the viewers, of course, they care about the Prem, but they don't care about the development. If you're a Man United fan and you live in Nigeria and it comes to your version of match of the day, of course, you might want to hear about the development of Mason Greenwood because he's a Man United player. But do you care about the development of Declan Rice at West Ham unless he linked to your club? No. What you care about is how is Ndidi doing? How is X? How is Y? How is Ian Acho got a hat trick? I want to hear about Ian Acho. Yeah. Why has he jumped up? And that's the thing we have in this country.
If you watch the American coverage, all the chat about is Pulisic.
Exactly.
That's all the chat about. That's all the chat about.
A bit more because it's like interest. And sorry, mate, but then on the premium, bring it all the way back round because there's no short answer for this. Because of that national interest, money. There is a marketability. Do you think it was just Manchester United fans who bought David Beckham merchandise? Of course, no real Liverpool fan, no real Arsenal fan in the 90s and City fan was buying United stuff. But Bury fans and Oldham fans and Donny fans were like, Beckham's a national hero in football. They buy into the product. They all buy the Brawl Cream and the Adidas and everything else. Now, though, with social media, they fly. They make so much noise. And you've got to understand that with that comes a premium. The reason why Paul Pogba was so much more expensive on a market value than, say, a Verratti, when some would argue there's similar level of footballing ability, is because Paul Pogba is Pogboom. He is a brand. You then magnify that with a very popular English player that not only is a huge brand, can be a huge brand globally, but is also huge in the market, in the biggest footballing market in the world, which is England. That's why you pay a premium. Simple as that.
There's also the fact that you've heard many people talk about this before in terms of the type of player from that country. So a Jack Wilshere, I think either it was Pep or a Spanish coach said, "Oh, like what do you think of Jack Wilshere?" And they said, "Oh, he's okay because there's loads of them." You know what I mean? There's already loads of them at Spain already. So I feel like because when England have a stereotype of player. When a player breaks that mold, that player immediately becomes more expensive because they're not. You can go and pick up a Jake Livermore. There's a load of players who are English who are Jake Livermore. You can pick them up for whatever price because that's a standard player. But when you get a Jack Grealish who breaks the mold of the national stereotype of your player, he will be more because you can't find them many. You can't find many Jack Grealish.
An example on here. Now, I'm not saying that Harry Maguire has been a resounding success for the money we've paid for him. But do I think he's as bad as some people make out? No, I think it's rather hyperbolic. But this comment here from one of our members, Harrison, is bang on, which says, I remember fans screaming 3 summers ago that Yeremina over Maguire. I remember that. But during the World Cup, I remember Man United fans said, this is when Jose wanted a new centre-back. Everybody was telling us Yeremina is streets ahead of Maguire. And no disrespect to Yeremina, yes, he was cheaper, but he's nowhere near Maguire's level as a defender. And the thing was, no one had seen Yeremina play. They just looked at the fact, I swear he'd been at Barca. Was he at Barca?
Barca, yeah, it was Barcelona.
Because they saw the word Barcelona on his CV, they naturally assumed, it's like saying, I'd rather Braithwaite over Danny Ings. Just because you wouldn't take Braithwaite over Danny Ings. And at the end of the day, for me, you just, a lot of football fans let themselves down. People ask me all the time in the comment section, what about this player? If I've never seen them play, I can say what I've read about them, but I never express a personal opinion because I have no idea. Mina is good. Yeah, Mina is good. But people told me 3 years ago on Fan Park Live, he is light years ahead of Maguire. And he's not light years ahead. Light years ahead is Van Dijk. That's light ahead. So the exaggeration is always there, and it always has been. And I don't think it will ever go away. I think it's just part and parcel of the way sort of football fans consume things. And often you get these sort of you hype players, and then they come. I did it. We should do it once. Well, we did it before, and it's not hard to do. All you got to do is Google search and put in 2008 Wonder Kids, and then you'll start remembering things of people. Oh, this guy's going to be great. This person's going to be brilliant. You always sort of get it. I mean, when Adnan Januzaj came through, everybody just naturally said Adnan Januzaj is going to be an absolute superstar. Didn't happen. Kiko. I mean, I was there. I was in the stadium the day that Kiko Makeda scored that match winner. Wow. I remember sitting at home and listening on the radio the week later when he scored another winner.
What was that against Villa?
Yeah, against Villa. And then then Fergie came out and said that he's the most naturally gifted finisher that he's ever seen come through. He's just so good. And he sat there and he was like, that's it then. He's going to be a star. And I think in the next 3 years, he scored 4 more goals. And that's just what happens sometimes. But we always we always overhype. And that's why when it comes to people say, Rashford's a hype job. Not really. Rashford's already achieved more than most Man United Academy players ever will, barring the class of 92, right? But those guys are an anomaly. That happened once where you had 5 or 6 come through one academy cycle at a time and kill it. But what helped them is they had a very good core they were coming into. If you threw those kids into the team 10 years earlier with the state Man United were in the early 80s, I don't think they would have become the players that they are today because environment is important. And one of the things that I do agree with recently, but I've read about Greenwood is this. If you put Greenwood and Rashford over the last 2 to 3 years in Man City's team or in Liverpool's team, you'd have dramatically better players, both technically and in terms of the outputs, because they're surrounded by better and they're being coached by better and they're in an environment that's set up to win as opposed to be mediocre. And sometimes, and all that plays a part. It really, really does. But in terms of pricing and premiums, your marketability is massive. When you've got a globally marketable player, Paul Pogba, they're always going to cost more than an individual that you think is better. When it comes to Declan Rice and Ndidi, there's debate over who the better players have had that. Declan Rice is always going to cost more and be worth more because, in my opinion, he's a more marketable player nationally and potentially internationally as well. And it always works that way. Some people just are and some people are not. And you can't get away from it. You really, really can't. Comment here that says, Terry, if Sancho was from Senegal, how much would he cost? Well, he'd cost a lot less than 120 million Arsenal for him. But if he was as good as he is, you would probably say that for me, it'd be about 60, 70 million pounds. I don't know why you picked Senegal. Maybe it's because Pepe's from Senegal.
No, he's not. He's from Ivory Coast, Terry.
Oh, no, it's Mane. It's from Senegal. Sorry.
Mane's from Senegal, yeah.
Apologies. Yeah, so maybe he'd cost less. I mean, if Mane was English and was doing what he was doing at Southampton, he would have gone for a lot more than 30 mil. A lot more, because there is that premium that's, and I'm sure where I would want to ask, is people that watch and consume, say, Italian or German football deeper. Is there a premium on the national-based players there? I'd love to know if there was.
Yeah, I think there's a set, but I feel like this naturally in football for some reason. There are nationalities that will get you a higher fee. So English, French, Spanish, German. They just demand a higher fee due to, I think, the history of the nations in world football.
It's also the leagues as well. The top 5 leagues in Europe, so that plays a part in it as well.
Yeah, because you're from a country that's regarded as being a good footballing country, and on top of that, you've played in one of the. It's interesting with the French. Brazil's another. Argentina, like certain countries. People even think that. I used to work with a guy, a Brazilian dude called Bruno, great guy, and we needed some players for 5-a-side, and we're like, who else could we ask? And everyone said, Bruno. And I remember saying, why Bruno? Because I'd already spoke to him about this and knew that he was a trash footballer. But their exact words were, well, he's Brazilian. He must be good. And I'm like, see, do you realize it don't work like that? And honestly, he was the worst footballer I've ever seen in my life. Man, couldn't even, he was like, I can't play football. He says, I never have done. He can't dance either. He couldn't do the samba, but he was one of them things. But he's like, and I asked him that. He's like, yeah, everyone just naturally thinks that you can dance and play football because you're from Brazil. Nothing like a stereotype. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it's certain countries. I think also as well, when your French players are Mbappe kind of breaks the mold a little bit, but generally you're more expensive if you're French and you've played in a top 5 league first, because again the view is that the French league is beneath the other 4 leagues. So if you're like a young French player and you've come through in the French leagues only, and you haven't killed it in the Champions League, you're going to be cheaper than a young German coming through in Germany or a young Italian in Italy, because the league isn't considered as good. So those are premiums.
Just look at Dembele. Man had one season and went for over 100 million. But if he did that in France, that same Bundesliga season that he had in France, he ain't going for over 100 million.
And let me tell you now about Mbappe. If Mbappe would have done everything domestically the same, but wasn't killing it in the Champions League, he wouldn't be spoken about as one of the best strikers in the world. It would be, got to leave France first, mate. But because
as well as the World Cup.
And the World Cup, of course. Yes, sorry. Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah, if you have to do it. So if you're in France or you're in Holland or one of these countries that's considered sub to the top 4, Portugal, you've got to kill it in the Champions League in Europe for people to say you got it. And I was at that like with Bruno Fernandes. When Bruno Fernandes started scoring all them goals, first thing I looked at is, but is he even doing it in the Europa League and everything else? And he was. How's he performing for Portugal? The report, he weren't scoring for them, but the reports were he's playing well. That's why I was confident. If the reports were he flops in Europe, flops internationally, but he's only scoring lots of goals in Portugal, I'd have just been like, nah, bro.
Sorry, what do you not think? Have you not seen that link about Ben White to Man United? Harry Maguire requested him or something like that. What is that all about?
That's was, man. That's air, bro.
That for me was a dog whistle to all of the kind of, that the football fans that want to claim that, remember the same people, the people that were triggered by that were the same people that 2 years ago were pushing this false, nasty narrative that Ollie only wanted British and English players to play for his team. And then subsequently, his next 4 signings were all from across 3 or 4 different continents. You had Ngala, you had Bruno, you had Cavani, Telles, who else? Donny van der Beek. Literally signed 2 European. So they're just kind of
we haven't started a British player for a year.
Yeah, but it triggers. The thing is, it's there to trigger. It's there to trigger the people. A lot of people that don't like Maguire. A bit like what Prime said, we have this percentage of fans. I find them very strange people. They've picked, but you don't, just because you're born in England doesn't mean you have to pick an English team to support or to follow the Premier League. But you've got these people that have picked the English Premier League and to support an English team, but have a real issue with English players. Their hatred towards English and British, you can feel it. Like the undertone is there, and I never really understand why. Like I ask why, and he don't get it. For me, that article was a dog whistle. That it was to trigger people only. No real. Not that we're not interested in him, right? But that Maguire requested it.
That's what I thought weird. I was like,
Yeah, that's mad. You know that's a lie because he plays in the back four and all of them speak English. So it's acting like he's gone to. It's acting like he's gone to France and everyone's speaking French in the back line. He's like, oh, I need some help. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
all of them speak English, bro.
Maguire walked into the boardroom, right, which is full of non-British people, right? No, barely no Brits on the board. Americans, Edward would, but predominantly Americans with a manager that's Norwegian and going, right up, right. What I want. Listen to me. Brexit means Brexit, and I want English speaking. I don't want none of this foreign accents. I want English speaking players. No more sauce on our pasta. Do you know what I mean? Ready salted crisps only. Vanilla milk. As if he did that. As if he walked into that and said, I want to play with an Englishman. Can you? Of course he didn't do that. It's who believes this? Weird. Can you imagine? He did that? Yeah.
I'll find out.
Or Ben me. What are the Bens, please?
I would find that very disrespectful if I was his teammate, if I was Lindelof and Say and all that, if he actually said that. To be honest.
No. He didn't. There's no way he said that. There's no way he said that.
No, I thought that. I didn't believe it when I saw it.
The only way it could make sense is if they was asking him advice on what kind of players would be good for you as in the centre back player, and it's like, a good requirement would be if they understand English, because it's already like you've seen it with Thiago and Chelsea and stuff like that. Like it is a barrier that's there. So of course you want someone to be able to communicate with and understand, but to make it out like they have to speak English. And it's the only requirement that I need, and they have to be British. It's just stupid. It's stupid.
You have to be a good defender. Nah, he can be shit, but as long as he's English, I'm happy. It's a dog whistle. It's an absolute dog whistle. And people took the bait on it. And I saw people take the bait. You're like, come on. Where's the challenge? Who told you that? Did he really say that? Of course he didn't. It's just a nonsense thing for me. It really, really is. Because I'm sure Maguire would be over the moon if Koulibaly signed. I'm sure he would be buzzing if he did. Of course he would, because he wants quality to play next to him. I don't know where the story even came from. I just heard people. I did see it trending last week.
Castles, bro. My brother's got this agenda against United, and he's basically crying. He's a Jose sexual as well. He loves Jose, bro. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's what it is. Go talk to your boy, Brian, please.
Terry, can you show me the
Shut up, you Woodward simp.
Good try, bro, because everyone knows that ain't true.
Can you show me the comparison? Because I haven't seen it yet. For the DM.
Is that the right player?
Yeah.
So again, creative-wise, better. More forward passes, but also more backward passes. That isn't surprising because he also completes the most amount of passes, so that's pretty fair. Passing accuracy, very, very good as well. But across the board, but then look at that, see? Look. It's as if by chance Terry Flewers is a football genius. He loses the ball more than everybody else by 3 to 4 times per game. But then he's creating much more per game, scoring more per game, doing more forward passes per game. It's as if the players that take more risks to create actually give the ball away more. The anomalies are actually the Jack Grealishes that give the ball away a lot less than other highly creative players. But they're not the rule. Do you get what I mean? It's an interesting one for me. It really, really is. Are there any other players you want us to check on that?
For like ground covered and tackling, Dennis Sakabia.
I'm gonna take. Okay, how am I spelling that?
SAK. No, sorry, Z. Sorry, ZAK. What to say S for? ZAK. AR. What? So it is IA at the end of it.
IA. Cool.
Yeah.
That might help.
Dennis, there he is.
Cool. Got him. Oh. Wow. That's very good.
Okay.
That's decent. Again, it's just when you weigh it all up, it's better passing accuracy than anybody else on there. Ball retention is very good. Only loses possession on average 8 times per game. But then you look at his ball recovery, he's winning it back a hell of a lot more than other people. But then you just say, then that's where the eye test come in. Is in why
the only yeah, that's what I was get onto. Why he's been really applied as a player that's playing further up the pitch in the last year and a half.
Yeah, and so if he's been playing further up the pitch, but he's not creating very many more chances or scoring very many more goals than his other players, that's why
I don't rate him.
That would deteriorate. Yeah, so you have
to rate him.
But as what though? You don't rate him as what though? As a midfielder in general, or like as a
midfielder in general? I've watched him when he was playing as a deeper player in midfield. I just didn't see what anyone else was seeing.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Can you look up Bruno Gomares, or have you guys already done that?
No, we haven't done Bruno Gomares. He's from Lyon.
Yeah.
Bruno Gomares. I'll get him up in just a second. I just want to check one other person first to see how he comes out. See again, I just thought I'd throw him in there for a bubble to wind people up, really. I put Scott McTominay in there. So, again, when you look at him, he's ball recovery is 6.4, loss of possession decent, more goals than anybody else, chances created better than Ndidi and Declan Rice, passes attempted, don't worry about it, passing actually 87%. So the only two that are better, the only one that's better than him is Declan Rice, and that's by 0.4. Long passing accuracy pretty good at 62%. And then like ground duel succession, the best of everybody. Aerial duel success, pretty much the same as Declan Rice. Interceptions is a little bit lower. But again, you look at it and it's like the way people talk about him is if he is rank in comparison to these people. And statistically speaking, and he plays in a double pivot, it's not like, you know, people say like, passing accuracy. It's sort of like, I get the forward passing bit, but it's like these other players will make mistakes on the ball. They will try and play a pass that gets intercepted. I think people have this weird view that no one else is going to misplace a pass if it ain't Fred or McTominay.
And that's why I don't read into the stats so much. That's what I keep saying. You have to look at the player's personality when he's on the ball, what he's trying to do. Because listen, I see Shaka do all the time. You can pass it to someone who's in the pocket, whereas if you're not really trying to hurt the opponent, you're just giving it to him because he's free. Or you're giving it to a player that's even demanding it in a dangerous area. That's what I want to see from a player.
But the problem with Scott is like he will at least try. He will at least try the forward passes into the spaces where it's dangerous and break the lines.
Yeah, he does.
His only issue is that his execution of them is poor.
No, I agree. Where I do give Scott credit is he doesn't shy away. He's always asking for the ball. He always wants the ball, and he's good at certain things. And like I've said, I want us to get better midfielders than Scott and Fred. I'm not just willing to sit there as a club and go, well, they've been given new deals by Ollie, so that's it now. We have to get success out of them. It's like, nah, bro. I want us to always look to better ourselves and move forward. I don't care about Ollie when it comes to that conversation. We just need better. And for me, Declan Rice, and if you could bring in Declan Rice and Ndidi and get rid of Fred and McTominay, I'd sign that off tomorrow, bruv. Like I've rubber stamped.
Hey, Terry, we've got the discount version of Aston Villa's midfield. They've got McDouglas. We have McFred, fam. That's what I'm going to say.
The issue with stats is that they're a direct reflection of how a player played in those respective teams. What matters more is how the teams play. This is also very, very true. And I always give this example of why one of the things about Jack Grealish that I'm not 100% sold on is that he doesn't play against teams every week that are playing low block against him, where he's being doubled up on by a right winger and a fullback. He doesn't get that as much. Why watching him for England is going to be important? Because most teams England play will sit behind the ball because England have technically better football players. So there's always that worry that against low blocks, he won't be as effective. So I still think he'll still be effective, but where he's creating 3.5 to 4 chances per game right now, you might run that 2.5, and then everyone goes, he ain't doing it for us, he's a flop. Well, what did you expect? Everybody sits behind the ball against us. There isn't as much space to run into. Like we've already said, I think Declan Rice and Ndidi improve on their passing in a more progressive and attacking teams. I think, and especially when it comes to open up the lines. Where they might struggle, though, is they're going to be counter-attacked against more. How often are they being counter-attacked against now?
The recovery pace, doesn't it?
There's all sorts to think about.
I think, what's the name? A lot of people don't notice Douglas Luiz enough. Like, I don't know. He looks a good player from what I've seen.
Who's that, sorry?
Douglas Luiz from Villa, the better version of Fred.
Somebody wanted me to check. Oh no, not him. Where's the king?
Samare.
I mean, Samare's
had Conrad Leno as well.
So Samare's is interesting. So I'm going to put. He's up on the screen now. So again, lots of forward passing, but obviously in a lesser Coupe de France. That's not.
He plays in the middle.
Yes,
He plays in the middle too as well. You know, he plays in the middle too.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
he's
so-
a double pivot. Oh, fair play.
Yeah.
when you look at it, I mean, just it's statistically speaking, much of a muchness again. I mean, they're all fairly similar to one another, and this is why there's two things. You're always going to have preference when it comes to the eye test, but it's about this is where it comes down to, and I think football fans can all have opinions on this, and we all will when you study a player. But it's about the club picking a profile, and everything's important from technical ability, what they work well and work poorly with. So it's about looking, okay, who's Samari or who's Basuma going to play with? Let's do some research into how they cope with those kind of players now. Does it work? Does it not? It's about those compliments. You know, we already see at Man United that Maguire is better when Bailly's next to him, generally speaking. Yeah. So if you're looking for a replacement for Bailly, because Bailly's too injury prone, look for someone that's like him. Because you've seen that it works. If you just go and sign someone who's different from Bailly and hoping it's going to work with Maguire, I think you're missing a trick there in many ways. But it's an interesting one at all. For me, when I'm looking at all this, listening to what all of you have said, I'm angling more towards Declan Rice, but he's the most expensive. Yeah. So he comes with more pressure. And
Lingard, don't worry, Agent Lingard will have that.
Lingard could do a bit, but we also know as well he's going to be under the most pressure as well if he comes to United, because as you said earlier, there is that percentage of very loud Premier League fans who have a real disdain for British players. The sort of shit that the Rashfords and the Declan Rices of this world already get is unbelievable.
Terry, can we do one last one?
Yeah,
everyone's feeling Shaka, boy.
Yeah, Brian, who do you want to look at?
Calvin Phillips, because because when Leeds went through that good run,
Jack's got all them greens, bruv. All them greens. Best passer, best long range passer, most passes attempted, most forward passes, most backward passes. The problem he has is the defensive areas, and that's where people really get at Xhaka. Worst tackler, worst duels, average.
Not mobile enough, is he? Not
mobile. Only one interception per game. Not enough tackles. So that's where it comes down to. Not enough lowest ball recoveries. So you sort of look at it, well, actually slightly same as Declan Rice. So that's where it's better passer technically, but then it's the defensive element. And when you speak to most Arsenal fans, it's his defensive side of the game that they have a problem with more than anything else.
Which is true. And then Phillips to Terry, because that was a good shout from Prime, because when they came up, everyone's talking about him.
And saying that he's already better than Declan Rice, which
they're a progressive team, so we're going to judge it like other progressive players. Oh,
stop it!
It's peak. It is peak. It is peak.
Yeah, I mean, he's passing accuracy below him, long range accuracy below him. He does less forward. He does about the same amount of forward passes in a more attacking team. Tackles decent at 2.8. Like it's good. It's good. But possession loss is the big one. Nearly 13 times per game he loses the ball. Declan Rice is a much steadier, I was about to say pair of hands, but there we go. And you know what we'll do just for interest? We're going to put the GOAT in here, right? We're going to put the GOAT in here for DMs in the Premier League in the last few years. We're going to put a bit of Kante in there, right? But what I'm going to do is I'm going to be really, really cheeky. I'm going to go back to, if it goes back that far, what was the first year he joined you, man? 2017, 16-17 season. That was his best year. This is like peak. Kante. Ball recovery 7.8. Loss of possession 9. Barely didn't score or create. Passing accuracy 88%. That's really, really good. Forward line. Like, again, you look at that 2.4. 2.4 interception. That's peak N'Golo Kante. Let's compare it to now, because all Chelsea fans say he's gone backwards. More interceptions, more ball recoveries now. Passing accuracy down by 2%. But every other stat's better now. That's the thing, the stats. Every other stat is better now than his first season at the club. But again, it's what's around you, I suppose. There we go. But listen, I've got a chip. Big game tonight. Wolves, Liverpool will be live after that game. Make sure you're tuning in. Make sure you're smashing the like and the share button. It's really important to the terrace that you do that. Thank you for all the super chats and all the new members that have signed up today. Until next time.